After finishing off the interior in the last episode, there were still a couple parts left for the exterior to do. So these were firstly primed and then painted gloss black. I just painted them in a jet black first and then clear coated them with 2K clear to give it a nice glossy finish. I also painted the brake calipers and discs. The calipers were painted in a nice gold and the discs were painted in a sort of gunmetal grayish look to supposedly look like some carbon ceramic brakes. These were also clear coated just to give them a nice glossy finish, and for the carbon ceramic brakes just to look a bit more like the actual thing. Now maybe gloss clear is a bit too much for the discs themselves. Next time I'll probably try a satin. I'm still trying to figure out what is the best way to make these look like actual carbon ceramic brakes. The wheels that came with the kit were two-piece wheels, just a barrel and a lip, and of course the center of the wheel too, but that is mounted to the barrel, so the lip was easily just slid on. And then I found some tires from a kit that I still had laying around, which were really nice stretchy tires. These are not the tires that are supposed to be on this kit, so they don't really fit the width of the wheels, but they do fit the style and the look that I was after. And again, this is a prototype kit, so not all parts were completed yet, so I did have to find a couple of my own in order to finish it. The kit was designed by Aoshima to be a simple snap-together kit most of the way. Not the entire kit, but a lot of the components are supposed to be snapped together. As you can see here, the calipers and discs are all a snap-together design, and the same goes for all the suspension parts and pieces. It's not super detailed, but it is really easy just put together, and it does have a pretty convincing look most of the way. One of the really cool features about this kit is that it has adjustable suspension, or at least adjustable ride height. You can completely customize the angle the wheels sit at and also the ride height the kit has. Give it some camber, give it some straight fitting wheels, or give it a really flush look. You can even have it in 4x4 stance mode and just easily drop it down into super stance boy or hot boy look. And that is easily then adjusted to a nice flat stance, and again you can just position it any way you want. It pretty much keeps it there. On all of the clear parts I still had to paint the black outline, and in order to do that I quickly needed to mask it off and then press in where the line on the clear parts is in order for me to clearly see where I need to cut. In the final version of this kit there will actually be a set of stickers, I'm pretty sure, to actually just easily mask it off and fit these windows, of course. Once all of the masking was done on the inside for the front windshield and also the in and outside for the side windows, it was time to just quickly fill up the airbrush and apply a couple coats of black. Some black paint and a little bit of time to cure, it was time to move on and unmask all of these parts in order for them to be installed. After putting in that final piece of glass, it was time to just set it aside for a bit so that the glue could cure. Once that had taken place, I could move on to snapping more parts in place. Pretty much all of the pieces for the headlights were painted in a glossy black, and I decided to add a little bit of detail to the headlight piece itself for some of the bulbs, and then also detail out the LED strips that were in there as well, just with a bit of silver paint. The clear lenses were also painted up with a permanent marker just around the edges for that sharp black line. And then when all of the parts were painted and cured, I could move on to snapping it all together. Moving over from the front to the rear, the engine cover or decklet needed to be assembled as well. There were a couple parts, or there was at least one part in body color. I painted the slats in gloss black, and the underlaying area was painted in a flat black. Now, looking at it afterwards, I might have just been better off to paint that flat black in a gloss black too, just to match up a bit nicer. But in the end, it does still look really good, and it offsets a bit of the color and not making it look all like one big piece. Another piece on the rear where there were a couple of grills and also the taillights were assembled too. These were all again press fit. Not all the parts fit super well, so it was a bit of a fiddle, and since I didn't have the final instructions or any instructions at all, I did have to figure out how they all went in which sequence, and then of course had to put them in too. The rear spoiler was glued in place too, and I could then move on to putting the chassis, interior, and body all together. I firstly put in the front that has a couple of hooks that need to be stuck together, and then carefully started bending out the sides to fit it all nicely. It is a bit of a push and pull here and there as usual, but in the end it snaps together really well. A couple more spoilers and lips needed to be glued on as well, starting off with the front and also some of the side extensions too. During the initial body working stage of this build, I mentioned quickly that some of the rivets that are molded in weren't really detailed as nice as I wanted them to be, and I actually sanded some of the detail out myself in order for the body to be prepped nicely. What I decided to do in the end is drill all of these rivets out before paint, and then I ordered some of these Top Studio rivets. These are 0.9 millimeters, so super small rivets, and just add a little bit of glue on each rivet and put it in place one by one. Now they are silver, which I think looks really nice in combination with the wheels. It offsets it a bit, and if they were black or just left in body color, it just didn't really feel right. So I like the silver look, and it is an extra step of detail which really stands out on these fender flares. In the initial unboxing, I didn't receive any decals yet. Aoshima did send out the final decal sheet, or at least the pre-production set. There were, of course, a couple of the Libertywalk logos all over, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm more of a clean style look on the build, so I decided not to add those, but I did want to add the Lamborghini logos front and back. Of course, a logo to the center cap of the wheels too, and the Lamborghini logos on the calipers. That's it for this build. I really hope you guys enjoyed the look at building a prototype, and I'm hoping to do more for Aoshima in the future. Leave a comment down below what you thought of this build and what you would do with your kit in the future. I'm curious to know.